So, I had a realization about the pearl that can possibly form and be harvested as a result of the wound that one develops as a result of the abuse and trauma that is incurred when one is placed in the role of scapegoat in a family. So, a pearl is made, I believe it's made when a piece of sand gets lodged inside of a clamp. Okay. So it's gritty. It's probably an irritant more than anything, right? But that small piece of dirt, that irritant, over time, under pressure, becomes a beautiful, beautiful treasure, a pearl. Okay, this is what I realized about the scapegoat wound, is that this is a wound and a role that teaches you from your very inception that you are not worthy of the life that you've been given. So the role of a parent, especially the mother, is to teach the child that they are worthy of love and respect, and that they can trust others. And the way that they teach their child that is by showing them that they are loved and that they are respected, and that the child can trust them. Okay. Well, a scapegoat child is not taught any of those things. They're taught quite the opposite. That they're not loved because they're neglected emotionally. Love and attention and kindness is withheld from the child. And the child is blamed. The child is made basically into a trash can, a receptacle for all of those things that the parents do not want to own or look at in themselves. So that becomes the identity of the child. Rather than the child being held lovingly and patiently and allowed to unfurl and become the beautiful flower that God made them to be, the unique being, they are never given that opportunity, but rather they are programmed and told, this is who you are. We're putting this program on you. And the program is, you're wrong, you're bad, you are not worthy of love or life. Okay, so that's the wound that you're carrying around as a child that's been cast in the role of scapegoat. That you're not worthy of happiness, of love, of respect. And then what you will do is, because you've come to believe that about yourself, is you'll prove that to be correct in every way possible. And anytime something good comes into your life, you will sabotage it, either directly or indirectly through other people or circumstances. Because to a large degree, the people that we surround ourselves with, the circumstances we place ourselves in, are a direct reflection of how we feel about ourselves and what we feel we deserve. And if we don't believe that we are worthy of success and good things and love and respect, anytime we start approaching having those things, we will prove our deepest belief about ourselves right by destroying those opportunities and those circumstances. That's how humans work. That's how our brains work. Our minds, our nervous systems, our neurobiology, it's very much like a computer in that it's programmed through repetition, through attention, neurons neurons, brain cells that fire together, wired together, right? So if you come to understand how neurobiology works, how the mind is programmed, how we come to believe certain things about ourselves, then basically you can reverse engineer that, and you can you've been brainwashed essentially by your parents into believing false things about yourself. So part of healing that, part of finding who you are, is examining patterns, examining beliefs, unwiring the tangled mess that has been created through the trauma of being cast in such a role. Examining it, rewiring, and then reprogramming through repetition of positive thoughts. And so it is possible to heal the wound. But it's hard, it's difficult, it's in many ways, it can be treacherous and even dangerous. Because often part of what it means to be a scapegoat is that you don't really have familial support. So oftentimes people who've been cast in this role, they are walking a lonely road without much support. So what I'm saying is that often in that healing journey, things will often seemingly get worse before they get better. It's just part of it. That's been my experience. But what I found is that like so many hardships and wounds and challenges, they can turn out to be a treasure trove. Because we live in a dualistic plane, a relative plane. That's the only way we know what something is based off of comparing it to what it is not. Contrast. So when you go through really difficult times and you experience great despair and pain, to the degree that you experience those depths of despair, you have the potential inherently to experience the equal and opposite of that. And so the treasure, the pearl to be found in the healing of the scapegoat wound is the potential to actually self-actualize. Actually actualize. Because so much of that wound is about how someone has told you a lie about who you are. So the healing of that wound requires you to actually discover, dismantle, do away with the lie, and then you are left with a blank slate and the opportunity at that point to actually listen to yourself, reparent yourself, rewire your brain, and become who you were and were meant to be. That's the gift in this wound, potentially. And you might say, well, you don't have to have that wound to self-actualize. No, you don't. But there are a lot of people who never self-actualize because they're never, they have no real reason to, in that maybe they've been given a program by their parents that wasn't quite as painful, though it still might actually not be who they are. A lot of people are walking around living a lie, and by lie I just mean it's not, they've been cast in a role. Like so much of this life is just theater. And but the thing about it is that you can let someone else write your life, and you can just read the lines. But God has given us free will and the authority to write our own lives and to direct our own lives. We have a choice. So that's what I realized, is that's the gift that I've been given in this life. I mean, life in itself is a gift, but if you're never challenged, if everything just comes to you sort of easily and you're spoon-fed everything, and I would have to think that life is, for those sorts of people, would be pretty mundane and even keel and kind of monotonous, and there's probably not a lot of potential joy to be had. And that certainly hasn't been my life. And I know for most people, that's not. For most people, life is really hard and challenging, and there's no reason to compare anyone's suffering. But it's true for all of us that our suffering could be the thing that prods us and pokes us and aggravates us. It makes us uncomfortable enough that we want to wake up. So I don't know how much of this is actually making any sense, and that's okay. I made a video a couple of days ago about this subject, but I approached it from a different angle, and there was a little bit of anger behind it, which I think anger is it's actually a healthy thing. You just have to direct it properly, make it constructive and not destructive. It's an energy. And I felt the video that I made was a little bit more leaning on the destructive, negative, than in the constructive, positive, which I feel like that to look at it in this way and see it as a potential inherent gift. That's how it's constructive. I took the approach initially, what I realized was like, oh my God, my mother programmed me to hate myself. My mother programmed me to believe that I'm not worthy of love or even life. And therefore, I've spent much of my life battling with suicidality. And it often comes after a period of attempting to and almost reaching a goal, and then finding myself sabotaging it, and then watching it all crumble before me, and then I experience extreme depression and often feelings of wanting to self-delete. Okay, but I realized that was a program. It was a literal program that was put into me by my parents. Okay, so they were programmed too, and that's why they did it. They're just replicating the program. So my mother is not allowed in my life because she's still unconsciously repeating that program and trying to put that shit on me. So I don't need to hate her. I love her, but I hate the behavior. I think it's insidious and gross and ugly, and I've suffered greatly because of it. But having now realized, once I realized what was going on, it became my responsibility to do something about it. And so I love my mother, and I thank her for this life, for birthing me. And I also will thank her to stay out of my life at this point, because she doesn't respect my life. And I do. I have respect for myself. But that is the experience of a lot of people who are put in the scapegoat role, is they find that they have been programmed to, in many ways, believe they're not worthy of life. And that is a burden and a struggle, and it's fucking hard. But you can overcome it. It just takes persistence and patience and cutting people out if you need to, putting yourself in the right environment. But it's, this whole life is a gift. It's all a gift. But especially the hard, ugly, challenging shit. It gives you the grit. It gives you the strength, potentially. It helps you build character. It allows you to know what other people are experiencing and to have sympathy and empathy and to really deeply love. This is all the potential that's found in hardships such as scapegoat role. So, man, yeah, would I want to live it all again? Would I want to repeat this lesson, this life? Probably not. Probably not, but I also wouldn't change it. You know, I'm thankful for all of it. And yeah, if you are the scapegoat, there's some real rich compost there. There's some treasure to be found. So just stick with it. And I mean, I've read all kinds of books, and, you know, listened to all kinds of teachers and speakers and professionals, and, you know, religion and philosophy and metaphysics and all of it. So, I'm trying to think if I have any like recommendations for books or, I've read a lot of Carl Jung. I've found his shadow work to be really helpful. There's a professor named Sam Vaknin. He talks a lot about the narcissistic type of family dynamics and the resulting traumas and wounds that occur there. I like him a lot. I enjoyed Jordan Peterson. So, I mean, all these things I say, they're all informed by, you know, I'm 42, and I've been on this healing journey since I was old enough to realize that I had a real fucking problem, which was in high school, you know. So, for the last 25 years solidly, I've been on this journey of discovery and healing and learning and growing. So you have to stick with it.